Hi, Gil Robles here, back with another video, and this time I'm doing another self-portrait, but I'm really using this photo that I've taken and I've used before um, for um, for practice. I'm using these watercolor pencils. I just decided this is a sketch that I did on my lunch hour and decided that for this sketch, instead of using gouache or watercolor, I was going to use the watercolor pencils. Now, just a quick note here. This is a sped up version of a video that I've also posted on Patreon, and that video is in real time, and I go more into the explanation of what it is that I'm doing. So I'll leave the link below if you're interested in wanting to see this in real time and hearing me explain at length and just going more in depth into what it is that I'm doing. You can oh, sign up on Patreon to support this channel and also watch a longer video. There are much more things on there as well. But after that plug, here it goes. I'm using watercolor pencils. I love these things. I think they're a great idea. They're useful for like doing these really quick sketches. When I travel, sometimes I'm on the trains and I'm headed to work. It's great to have these. Like if you see something that you want to sketch, maybe what I usually do is I wait, I look around, someone falls asleep or someone's distracted in some way, whether they're reading a newspaper or they're reading a book or something, and they're not really noticing their surroundings, and I have an opportunity to do a quick sketch of that person and without calling too much attention. So and having a medium like this, a watercolor pencil, is great because I mean it's all you need is the pencil. Also, what I use eventually after I stop drawing here is I use a Niji brush. That's a brush where you can purchase at any art supply store, and they have like you can fill that brush with water and just squeeze the drops of water onto the 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 the, the, the hairs on the brush, and that way it'll be wet and you can go ahead and manipulate the graphite here that's water soluble, and that's all you need, just the pencil, that Niji brush, and of course the sketch pad. Other than that, you might need a sharpener. So it's something that's really portable. You can take around with you, and when the mood hits you or you see something that's interesting, you have the tools to respond to it right away. So it's a great tool to have, and you can arrive at what what it is you want to do very quickly. Like what I'm doing is because a lot of this is going to get lost once you start adding the water. I'm not trying to get into too much detail. Now, of course, some of the lines are still going to be there after you finish the drawing and even after you've added the water. But for the most part, a lot of this is going to be uh, um, taken out, and once you use the brush and go over it. And you'll see. But here's the brush, so I'm going over it, and you see how when it dries, you'll still see some of the lines there, and some of those lines will survive and so forth. But most of them would be like like this very watercolory look. So it's you don't have to go into too much detail. You just generalize and then start to paint, and then you can always go over it again once the surface dries, and use the pencil and just go back and correct your drawing or accentuate the things that you want so that you're so that so that you can arrive at the image that you want. Now, these brushes, there are brushes. I'm sorry, these pencils. There are a variety of pencils that you can purchase. Different manufacturers. There's Prismacolor. There's Caran d'Ache, Derwent, and they come in the wood pencils, the woodless pencils, and there's a lot, and of course there's a variety of colors. So, but I mean, watercolor pencils have been around for a while, so I think this is pretty common knowledge. The thing about it is that my approach here is and how I use this, and I think it's similar to the way I do anything else actually when it comes to drawing. But the thing is that it gives you that quality of that speedy sketch, that ability to get stuff down quickly, and to use not just the pencil but the brush to get to allow you to get to a finish a lot faster. You can leave it very general, or you can get very specific. It depends on the time that you have, but it's definitely a great tool to have, especially if you're sketching outside, or you don't have a long time to do something, and you just need something that'll get you a lot further, a lot faster. And these watercolor pencils definitely fit that bill. Also, in regards to that, there's not just a watercolor pencil that gives you this watercolor feel. There's also a water-soluble graphite pencil that extends, the graphite, it turns it into what you see here, but it's still, it looks less like watercolor and more like the graphite. It's kind of hard to explain, but it's also the same thing. Great tool. The graphite pencil comes in, a color that doesn't come in different colors, but it does provide you an extension to just the pencil. It's similar to using a stomp, except that you get that watercolor feel. And of course you do get to, like here in these watercolor pencils, get to a finish a lot faster. And it's up to you how generalized you want to make it. Of course, paper is important. I'm using a paper here that's kind of thin. It's a good quality paper, but for this, I think if I was going to do something that involved a lot more work, I would have picked something a bit heavier than what I have. This is just bond paper, which in itself it's good, because it tells you that you can use a variety of papers. I would recommend a good paper, good rag content paper. This is a 100% rag content, and it's 100% cotton, but at the same time, it's also very thin. So I have to be careful that I don't overwork it and start cutting into the paper and stuff like that, or the materials are too abrasive for the paper. So there's only a certain amount of working and reworking I can do here before it starts damaging the paper. But again, you can always use a better surface, some Bristol paper, or some heavyweight drawing paper, or just what have you, whatever you feel comfortable with. Some watercolor paper. And some hot press watercolor paper, that would be great. But one of the things also is with these pencils, when you first put it down, it's easy to manipulate, but when I go back over it, it's important to make sure that the paper is dry. Otherwise, it'll start scratching into the paper and so forth. And you gotta wait till the paper dries a bit, so that you can use the pencil over the drawing again. But other than that, and for that reason, be careful with the amount of water that you use, depending on the speed that you're going. If you have time, it doesn't need to be a concern. But if you don't have time, then it may be limiting how much water you put down at once. Now, this is a different brush that I'm using. This is a Pentel pocket brush, and it's a brush of ink, because one of the characteristics of these watercolor pencils is that they, initially they look darker than they dry. So just like watercolors, I used that pen to the ink pen just to accent some of the darker areas, and then I go back into it with the watercolor pencils, because it can't, you, the more of the pencil that you use on the surface, of course the thicker that's going to be and the darker it's going to be, you know. But I just found that using the ink pen will get me there faster, and I could go back over it and add some more watercolor, so that, you know, it doesn't appear too, like, getting too dark too fast in certain areas, you know. But I needed it for the you know, just to accent some of the darks. So, but and also what I do is that I go back into it with the pencil, and I like leaving some of the pencil marks behind. You know, it gives you a good idea of just, you know, just I like I like looking at things that you can definitely see the artist's hand in it and the marks that he made and so forth. And so that's what I do too, just to give the drawing some character, and some character that's uniquely me, you know, by the marks that I make, or the marks that I choose to make. And so once again, this is like I said, this is just a quick video here, but it's the full video. You know, I just sped it up, and to give you a quick introduction, you can go on my Patreon page and support this channel on Patreon and see a longer video with more explanation, and plus more videos. The videos I have there on digital art, and also on different mediums like gouache and watercolor and so forth, and pencil, and on and on and on. I love to draw, and I love to explore different mediums and different options that I have to express myself. But I tell you, as much as I do digital art, I find more fun in doing this stuff, the traditional stuff. Probably the why is because that's how I started, and I believe in it so much, and you know, it gives me a lot more joy to do it this way. But at the same time, I enjoy the digital art, and there definitely advantages to doing digital art as well. But definitely do not throw this stuff away, because I really believe, especially when you're drawing from life, this is how you develop and you get better and better at your work. So, but that's it. I'm coming toward the end of my video, and I want to thank you. And again, I invite you to my Patreon page. Links are on the bottom. And until my next video, I see you. Bye-bye.